Hey, it's Karl again, Slicker Studio, and today I want to do a review of the Artify Watercolor Travel Palette. Uh, Comes with three water brushes. Um, that's kind of a good deal, actually. I picked this up on Amazon. I got it for like $18 because it was part of a set with a set of watercolor brushes as well, and it was some I got this and the watercolor brushes for $29.99, but this by itself on Amazon is $22.48 um, as of today, March 11th of 2022, and it's got some decent reviews. To be honest, it's a knockoff of the Koi 24 watercolor set. I mean, it's the same tray, same basic layout. There's a couple of different things. Um, but it's the same thing. Clearly engineered after the same core thing. The water brushes, they're good. I looked at them. Um, you got one flat that's it's not very flat. It'll be a mop if you need that sort of thing. I don't use water brushes too often, but it's got a nice one. It's got a nice little small tip on that one, or fine tip. Sorry, I find my camera. Hello, focus. You're not focusing. But whatever. You've all seen water brushes before, and it's got the medium tip round, pointed round. Um, I didn't fill them up. I screwed a couple together. I'm not going to review these. We all know how these work. And if you don't, you can find reviews for water brushes. They're made by a million different companies, and they all kind of behave the same. There's with a few standouts and a few stinkers. Um, one difference, kind of a major difference between this and the Koi kit is it's got kind of a modular system, sort of like what the Cotman Winsor Newton Cotman boxes have. Some of them where they've got the lift out. I think theirs hold four of the half pans, and you can just lift them out and swap them around. This has that same thing. These are little packs of six, um, and there's four of them, and you just pop the single pans out, and you can swap them around and that sort of thing. Um, I've made it somewhere here. I'm not going to swatch them out for you. I'm sure there's plenty of other people that do that. These are the colors. They're a lot like the Koi watercolors. Some people say they're more transparent. To me, there's just three different reds right here, and they're almost the same. Both oranges are almost the same. The yellows are a little different. Uh, it's lacking a ultramarine blue, which is criminal in my book. Uh, Standard yellow ochre, English red, PR 101, and probably a burnt umber. Hopefully it's PBR 7. I mean, it could be a mix of PR 101 and PY 42 as well. This green looks suspiciously like Hooker's green, like PG8, the actual pigment, which is fugitive, but it could be a mix of, the phthalo PG7 and something else. Uh, I mean, yeah, you can use them. They're they behave okay. They behave like the Koi watercolors. They don't lift very well unless you put a drop of water on them and let them sit for about 2 minutes. Then they do okay. Uh, So yeah, I mean, it's 22.48. Is it worth that? I got it for the box. I have several of the Koi ones. I have the Koi 24, the Koi 30. I think um, I might have one bigger than that. I'm not sure. They keep going up in size. Uh, I do like the way these things just pop out. The Koi ones are a whole plastic tray, and the plastic it's real cheap. It's like that stuff that the plastic that you see in colored pencil tray sets. You know, you get the metal box with 3 trays of whatever, and it's that thin plastic that is just glued down in the bottom of the palette. What I'm going to do with this, I mean, I'll likely just sell these on eBay or something. I don't see a reason to keep these for my needs. I have all the palettes I could ever want. Um, and you know, I'll sell these for $5 on eBay or something, and somebody will be happy to get them because they like the modular system here, and they would like to be able to switch and swap and whatnot. So yeah, I'll set these aside so I can get on with what I'm going to do with this palette. I'm sorry, I'm trying to find a place to set them aside without having them just pour back onto my workspace here. My whole desk is sort of a disaster at this point. So yeah, pull those out. These sponges is for wiping your brushes. I've tried using them with the Koi sets. They're you know, the plastic sponge. They don't really absorb a lot of water. Um, so off they go as well. Uh, this thing fits in those little sockets there. It's got little legs on the bottom, the mixing tray, and it also sits here. Um, it sits here. It'll sit in the lid if you want it to. It'll fit on those. For some reason, if you wanted that, it can come off the back side, or I guess the front side. Uh, it's a really cool idea. What I do with my Koi ones, I don't like it. See, it just falls out. Um, I run a little bit of washi tape eventually around the legs. Wow. Hey, what we're going to do it on this one here. Yep, that's backwards. Yeah, is it? Oh, I would probably use it more like that. So, I mean, you can use masking tape, art tape, electrical tape, whatever tape you want. Uh, I like it to fit tight in those holes. Uh, so that way, when I'm standing at, you know, working on plein air or something, I do like this accidentally. I don't lose this on the ground. So, so that's just me. And while I get the tape out, I'll go ahead and do the other one. Um, the other leg. I don't do all 4 legs because this is the way I normally would run it, is out here. Being a right-handed person, I would hold the palette in my left hand while I'm working. Uh, what I like about these, and I did the same thing with my Koi one. See, that's very stable now, not gonna fall out. Uh, no, yeah, what I do with my Koi ones, on the bottom you got your finger ring here, and you see the little molded in holes there where that ring clips into the plastic part there. I'm not going to pull it out. This is going to break eventually. I'm sure I'll have to replace it with a chunk of, you know, uh, Romex copper wire or something that I'll braze it together. Um, but what I'm going to do is put a sheet of styrene into each one of these wells, and I'll scuff these wells up over here. And this is just perfect for, you know, select a size paper towel kind of thing. Um, it's just perfect to cram this in here like such, thusly. I use paper towels all the time for my blotter cloths. So this to me is a lot more, uh, gives me a feeling of normal when I'm out working. You know, I've got my paper towel there, and if you've only got one paper towel with you, you can pull it out and rip chunks off of it if you need a little bit of blotter. You can flip it over and roll it. Uh, you know, and then when you're done, you just whip it out and throw it away. Whereas the sponges, cleaning them out, it's kind of a pain, and they get stained, and they get they get gross. Like a kitchen sponge, it'll house bacteria. Well, these will too, um, eventually. So yeah, off with those things, and I'll use these wells here for isolated. Like on this side, I'll put ultramarine blue here, just a blob sitting on the side. I'm treating it like a mobile uh, butcher pallet kind of a thing, or butcher tray. Uh, so I'll put like um, spit it out, son. Ultramarine blue here and raw umber, burnt sienna, and be able to mix a nice warm black over here. And on this side, I'll put maybe cobalt blue or phthalo blue and cobalt teal. Maybe use this for a sky mix. I could also use this for a greens mix. Something dedicated that I only need two colors for or something. And like with my greens, I use maybe three colors. I like to have ultramarine blue for the granulation, and it makes a nice shadow in green foliage, that kind of thing. Uh, and then Viridian, and really I like um, nickel azo yellow, like PY 150 is nice, but you can get like the ergazine as well, like PY 129, I think it is. It's like the green gold version of that. But any mix, I mean, I could use this for my greens over here, or I could do my whites actually in there. I do, yeah, that's what I'll do. I do tend to run with white paint in my watercolor palettes. I also run with a little cadmium yellow and cadmium red light for when I need some opacity when I'm doing flowers over the top of a scene or signing my name or something like that. Uh, but yeah, that's a good way to isolate that. So that leaves me these wells to do, you know, I could make my warms in here and my cools over here. I'll probably go the other direction. I'll do the warms over here, and the cools here. Uh, would be one way to do it, or I could run my high chroma stuff over here and my earths like here. Uh, yeah, the possibilities are endless. Uh, Now, with this thing, a couple of different ideas here. It's about, nah, maybe it's about an eighth of an inch deep, I guess. Maybe a little shy of that. So I can put um, colors in here as well. Uh, yeah, real shallow mixes here, like a quinacridone gold kind of a a set here with some oh, I don't know, quinacridone violet, uh, PY 150, uh, PY 42, maybe a raw sienna, something like that. Um, I find myself using raw siennas a lot, and to be able to tweak those one way or the other to kind of go yellow if I need to, or if I want to go more of an orange, I can do that into like a burnt sienna. But you get the idea. Like minded mixing sections. Like I could do my skies here. Couple of different blues, ultramarine, cobalt, phthalo, cobalt teal, um, even a little bit of white paint. I do like to have some like Chinese, like a mixing white to sometimes kind of powder up the sky a little bit. Um, yeah, so that's a useful thing to have. And when it sits down in here, when you're not using it, I make that tape too thick. No, it's good. Yeah, that'll be fine. Uh, when it's at rest and the lid is closed, if you see on the side here, you might think that you could put some stuff in the lid, some blobs of paint, and let them cure off. If you do that, when you close the lid, those blobs of paint are going to be hitting on this. So, I mean, realistically, this is a nice size uh, flat space for mixing big washes. If you've got a big painting to do, big like 11 by 15, working on an 11 by 15 palette or paper out of a palette this size is a lot of times you'll feel, you know, a mixing area like that is not big enough. So it is nice to have this big solid lid. Yeah. So anyways, back to the holes here. I can't just rough this up and put paint in here because the water's going to hit that and run down, and I'll have a colored thumb all the time. So I'm going to put the sheet styrene in here and glue it down. I've done it before with two-sided tape. With this one, I'm just going to scuff both this and my sheet of styrene, which I swear I just had. There it is. Uh, this is 0.03 thick. It's real flexible. Uh, a nice piece of styrene, super cheap. I think I got 8 sheets of it at 18 by 20 or something off Amazon for $15. I do a lot of scale modeling, plastic car models and stuff, so I use this all the time. And it's really useful for doing, well, there's just all kinds of things. So I'll cut a couple pieces of this that will drop down into these two wells. I'll scuff this up in here with, I'll use a chunk of Scotch-Brite. It's really ugly. I use it in my woodworking. It's the extra fine Scotch-Brite pad for scuffing finishes and things between coats. It's sort of like a synthetic steel wool. Uh, and you could use steel wool, you could use sandpaper, whatever. And I'll even do it on the top. I don't like when paint beads up on stuff. Uh, well, nobody likes that, and it's going to do it on this a lot. I can tell. One thing that is really helpful to do with these stuff like that, if you don't want to scuff that up, is spray. This is just simple green. I buy a big, like a gallon concentrate, and then I just put it into my own uh, spray bottles. This will take care of all of the any oils like mold waxes from the factory. That'll pull all that out of off the surface of any plastics that you want to clean off like that. That'll help the paint stick, but I actually scuff it up too. Like I don't care if I don't have one here that's open to show you. I don't care if my palette's dirty. I don't ever clean my palettes in between paint. I very rarely do. Something has to have gone horribly wrong for me to clean my palette. Uh, so I scuff them, and if they get stained, I don't care. I mean, I can tell what's happening when I'm mixing colors. I don't have to have a pristine white surface. I'm going to go ahead and do this on the inside of this too, even though I'm going to scuff it before I put the glue on there. And by glue, I'm just going to use acrylic. I don't know what's the thickest thing I got. I guess I use that. Any acrylic is just a glue. It's a polymer glue. Um, so I'll just glue it down, and if I have to, I can always dig it off later. For whatever reason, I would want to do that. But I'm not going to mess around with two-sided tape. I'd have to go find it, and I know it's in one of my drawers in the shop, but it's cold outside, and I want to stay in the studio. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to scuff these. I'll scuff after I cut the pieces, I'll scuff them out. Oh, that's almost big enough. That's great. So I can use that portion. I hate wasting material. So I will cut that. And I'm going to cut this with scissors, I think. Last time I did it, I cut it with an X-Acto knife, which is what I do when I'm modeling um, little pieces that, if I need strips or something. But this is just a big piece, and I don't really care if it's like super flush on the edges. Um, So yeah, the reason I'm doing that again is to cover up these two little holes is the only reason I'm not just using this plastic because um, I can't just put, super glue or something in there because this little ring on the bottom has to pivot. So if you put a bunch of glue or something in there to seal those up, that's going to get stuck. And as soon as you move it, it's going to pop a hole in whatever you put in there. Uh, and putting tape over it is not gonna work. So yeah, cut a couple sheets of styrene in there. And the reason I brought up this about the lid, if you do want to use the lid and put blobs of paint, you probably won't be able to use this thing. I think it's better to leave this for a large mixing area, and that, and you can wipe that out because when you go to close it, you don't want a big puddle of liquid to dump into all your paints. Uh, so yeah, this has got plenty of nice. Each corner you put four colors, and that mixing area becomes any any of those four colors you can get a great mix out of. So I don't know, your earths, your oranges, even your blacks and stuff. So I'll use this for something that I want to keep clean and isolated, and same over here. I can be kind of free in here. I don't need. I have a lot of palettes with like 18 colors. I don't need that many colors. Um, and as I've learned over the years, now when I make palettes, a lot of times I'll just use maybe 10 colors and I'll repeat them a lot. Like I'll put a yellow with one of my blues because I want to mix, green, and I'll put a yellow with one of my reds because I want to mix orange. Instead of trying to use the same big blob of yellow and it gets stained green and it gets stained orange and it gets stained purple. Well, that's not a thing. You get what I'm saying. I'd rather have, because I used a lot of yellow. Everybody uses a lot of yellow. Uh, I'd rather have a blob of yellow in each corner of each mixing area and not have to worry about the day that I do need to have some clean yellow not being able to find any because it's just a big blob of mixed up mess. Um, so yeah, repeating like with ultramarine, I use a lot of ultramarine. It's a great shadow enhancer. You can mix it with a lot of different colors to create shadow, and I love that it granulates too. You mix it with a lot of things, and it makes really beautiful granulation. Especially if you get like a granulating earth color, you mix it with ultramarine blue, and it's just both colors granulate differently, and it's really cool looking. Um, so yeah, that's what I'm gonna do with this palette. I'm probably gonna stop the video to do it. There's no reason to make a giant long video of me cutting cutting out pieces of styrene. I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory. If you make, you measure it to fit in each one of these things, and I'm assuming they're both identical, so I can just make two of the same one and cut them out, glue them in, scuff this with the sandpaper. Well, with the tell you what, I'll just do it. You see in there, you can see the glare, how shiny it is as soon as you run this stuff along here, and I'm running it on the sides as well as the bottom because I like my paints to stick to the side of the wells too. Now I can get the angle right again with the light. You see how it's not glaring in there? That means that this will stick. The paint will stick to that. And that way when I close my travel palette and move around, I don't open it up and have a bunch of loose blobs bouncing around and contaminating each other in there. And I'm scuffing this up so the acrylic will stick in here when I put the sheet styrene down on top of it. Both sides will both sides will bind together. Once I put that in there, and then I put the watercolor around the edges, um, it's gonna the watercolor paint will hold it down as well. So I guess I guess I'm gonna go ahead and sand these while I'm recording. It is a fast process, and I am gonna scuff this mixing area there. Tell you what, I will do an example just so you can see what I'm talking about. See how that color's beading up on there? Actually, that's pretty good after the simple green. It took all the wax and oils off. Um, but yeah, you can still see it beading in there. Now, once you use it for quite a while, uh, that beading will stop and it'll settle down because the pigments are a lot of them are abrasive, so it'll eventually just wear the shiny off of this thing. I tell you what, that's feeling sticky enough there that I won't. I'll use it for a while without scuffing it. Um, why not? I can always clean it out and scuff it if I need to. Because scuffing it, like when you saw the glare disappear there, the paint lays in there really nicely, but it also has a lot more stuff to stick to and stain. I'm just catching the inside of the walls of these wells as well here, real quick while I'm doing it. So yeah, this isn't your typical review about how great this kit is, because it's got loads of colors of paints and that kind of stuff. I don't know why I'm putting a stupid voice on. Uh, I'm doing a review because this is a cool palette. After you get the paints and the stupid crap out of it, uh, it's actually a very versatile palette for the size that it is. When it's all closed up, I mean it's like 6 inches. I think it's what is that? 4.5 maybe, um, by 6 inches, and it's an inch and an eighth thick. Uh, for what you can fit in here, the amount of paint and the number of paints, the number of colors. I mean, you got what, five mixing areas here that you could add blobs of paint to. You got a large mixing area up there that you can just leave for doing giant puddles of paint for big washes. Uh, I mean, you can put one, two, three, four, five, six, seven, eight. You can put 10 blobs of paint in each one of these guys, two or three in each one of these guys here. You got a lot of colors if you want to do all different colors. I'll probably sit down and plan this out before I do it, but I have clearly I have an addiction. I have so many palettes, it's ridiculous. Um, I've been for 10 years been collecting different brands of paints, and I've got I think 15 of these palettes, the 18 wells. Uh, these are fantastic, but that's enormous. This is great for, well, you can still throw it in a backpack or something and take it with you, but you need a big place to set this if you're going to use it on the go. But I got a bunch of those. I got tons of the Jerry Q 18s. Um, Mine are literally buried right now. Um, I think I've got 12 or 15 of these little Cotman guys. These are fantastic. These are actually a pocket size thing. And once you get the pans out of there that these come with, the little half pan, that holds a impressive amount of paint in each one of these wells, um, which will last for a very long time. Now, you don't get a lot of mixing space with these, but I don't use a lot of mixing space. I mix on the paper more often than not, because if I'm out on the go, I'm working, 5 by 7 or, a 16th sheet, like that size of a thing. Anything bigger than that, and it starts getting a little ungainly. Um, but I got a bunch of those. I got a bunch of these. Guys here, I think I've purchased these, I don't know, 12 or 15 times too. Oh, I'm not looking forward to doing this review. This is Arteza watercolors, and this is with glycerin added to the wells as I put the paint in, and they just crack, and they're brittle. It's just the colors are okay, but it's like Reeves or something. It's a Scholastic grade watercolor paint. I don't know why I bought them and decided I wanted to do a video, but Artesa gouache, I love. Artesa watercolors just hang me. Um, they're terrible. So yeah, I'll wash this out with the simple green and yeah, I'll build a palette out of that. I don't store brushes in my travel palettes mostly. Like with these guys, I do. Um, no, that's not the, this is a expensive Kolinsky that instead of buying a travel brush for twice the price of the regular brush, I just lopped the handle off, rounded it, and I kept the plastic guard that they come with, and it just fits in there. And wherever I go, I got a nice big Kolinsky that comes to a fantastic point, holds a ton of water. So if I need to, I can use that and do really well. But these come with a pretty good travel brush, anyways. Um, yeah, this is the brush that they come with. Uh, so on these ones, I leave it in there. Most of my other ones, I don't. There's no reason to have a brush in there. Uh, Whenever I'm going somewhere, I have a box of brushes and no, yeah, I keep one of those travel brushes down in here, but that's only because I can't fit any more half pans in this little set. So yeah, I won't need to put a brush in here. And I mean, realistically, if I needed to, I could cram one in there. But if the paper towel is wet, I wouldn't want to do that because it'll soak into the wood and split the brush or whatever. So yeah, I'll stop the video and get this done, and I'll do a little touch base at the end before I sign off. All right, take care. Well, see you in, like right now. All right, I'm back again. I kind of got some stuff sorted out. I got the polystyrene sheets cut and glued into the wells here, so now my thumb hole won't leak. I've got things scuffed up as I wanted. I got this scuffed. Like I said, I'm gonna leave this one unscuffed and see how it behaves. I think it'll tone down over time, uh, and still be able to be wiped out. Since I'm keeping this, I'm not dedicating any particular colors or anything in here. I want to kind of keep it as clean as I can, um, for doing large wash puddles, that sort of thing. But this one is definitely going to get some uh, dedicated, I guess, assigned corners for particular colors. I've just been going through the way I'm going to do it. I'm going to put my opaques in here, which would be white, cadmium lemon, maybe a Naples yellow, but definitely a cadmium red light. I'll keep those separate because I rarely mix those with anything, so I'll just kind of keep them in little uh, divoted puddles, I guess. I don't know what you call it, um, daubs, whatever. Um, and this side over here, I'm going to use my grays, meaning I'll probably do a Payne's gray. Actually, I'll probably put a burnt umber down here, a Payne's gray at the top, and maybe in the middle an ultramarine blue. Uh, yeah, yeah. I'll play it by ear. I don't want to put too many things in here because then I won't have any room to mix. But there again with the grays, the neutrals, I'm not doing a lot of mixing between them. I'd rather add them, charge them into wet spots on my paper. Um, and like I say, I always have the whole lid to mix with. I think it's a very versatile palette for the size that it is. So yeah, grays, opaques, obviously the paper towel wad there. Um, I'm gonna keep warms on this side and cools on this side, and I think I'm only gonna do maybe 6 daubs of paint around the edges. Um, to leave as much mixing room as possible. I'll probably start out with like a primary yellow, like a PY3 or something here, just a regular lemon yellow, um, and then like a benzy yellow and a nickel azo yellow. I really like Lucas makes a really good Pyrrole or Pyrrole Orange. I think I want to. I do think I want to do one of those oranges there because it is such a beautiful color. But definitely Lucas's uh, PR 242, their permanent red. That's a tough pigment to find. The only ones I know of that use it are Lucas and Sennelier. I have both brands, and I like the Lucas version better. Uh, I definitely want Da Vinci's quinacridone, alizarin, crimson. That's easily my favorite alizarin crimson, but I'm going to put that over here in the cool side. Uh, so I'll probably balance the PR 242 here and the aliz crim here. So I've got warm red and cool red right next to each other. Um, I'll figure out the other warms as I go. I'm gonna want to put over here in the cools. I've got some. I don't remember which brand it is. It's ultramarine violet. I think it's is it PB14 or PV14? I'll figure it out when I do it. Um, so yeah, these will be kind of dedicated cools, dedicated warm mixing areas. Not really set up to be specific to any particular type of thing. Now up here in the tray. Um, I'm going to use my blues and grays in here. Mainly, this is going to be where I mix sky colors. Um, the standard sky colors. I'll have cobalt teal, cobalt blue, ultramarine blue, phthalo blue, maybe an indanthrone blue, uh, raw sienna, um, maybe a burnt sienna. Yeah, I'll think about that. I want to have a decent mixing area in there for my sky colors. Uh, The other big one is going to be for greens. Probably going to put uh, Paleogen Black or what is it? PBK 26, maybe 31. It's the green black, like shadow green or perylene green. It's a real dark green. Uh, I'll put that there. I may run a few different things. There's definitely going to be a nickel azo yellow in here that makes fantastic greens. An ultramarine blue that really does well for shadows. Probably a bit of Payne's gray for really dark greens. There again, I'll play with that as I get my colors out. I'm going to do each one of these things in sections. I've got a lot of bins of paint that I'm just going to dump out. I'll start with the warms, and I'll dump out all my warms. I think I've got them organized in like yellows and reds in one bin, blues and violets in another. Wait, blues and greens and violets in another. And then I've got one that's just dedicated for Lucas because I have a ton of Lucas colors. Uh, and then my earths, blacks and whites. I don't use a lot of blacks, but I am gonna, well, I'll likely put in some. I've got a bunch of tubes of Soho Mars black, I think they call it. It's PBK11, the magnetic black. Real crazy granulation. Well, the Soho Urban Artist paint is so cheap and garbagey. You can't leave it in a palette on its own. It just becomes brittle and flakes off and cracks away. But it does work great for mixing with other things. I really like Daniel Smith Hematite Genuine for a dark earth or dark brown because it granulates just beautifully. And along that and along with that Green Apatite Genuine is another one from the Daniel Smith Primatech line that I've tried to emulate with other things. Uh, that's a tough one to emulate. I just bought a bunch of tubes of it and said, screw it, I'm not going to try to emulate it anymore. Um, the hematite genuine though, I can emulate that pretty well with that Soho uh, black, the Mars black, and like a burnt umber or something. Uh, so I'll play around with that, and I'm going to try to do it in sections so I can speed up the film while I'm going through my all my tubes and picking out which ones I actually want to use in here. So this will be golds. That'll be greens. Now, when I say golds, it's going to be kind of a quinacridone gold, um, yellow ochre, earthy golds uh, that I can go real transparent with or opaque and earthy with. The middle one's going to be darks. It's just going to be Paleogen black, uh, a bluish Payne's gray, um, probably a dark like a burnt umber. No, I'll use raw umber. I like raw umber for darks. At least Da Vinci's raw umber, and ultramarine blue that gives a good granulation. Um, we'll see. I'll play with that as well. Uh, and Danthron blue doesn't do well with mixes. It really loses a lot of color when it dries. The color shift is big, and especially when you mix it with a burnt sienna or something like that. And I'm not sure there's something that goes on there. I'm pretty sure it kind of bleaches out into a gray. Uh, so this will be my earths. I use a lot of earths, but I don't foresee it being a need to mix them so much. So that's why I decided to go with a small one here. I'd much rather have more uh, different types of greens, and the earths I can cramp it up a little bit uh, because there's really only going to be maybe four of them in there, maybe five. But mixing them is not going to be a big deal. The earths are really easy to mix on the paper. Uh, and again, I've got the lid if I need to mix large amounts of it. So yeah, that's the plan. We'll see how it goes. I'm going to start, and I'm going to go with the full top-down screen over here. Get my face out of there. You don't need to see me and the advertisement stuff and all that. Be easier for you just to see what I'm doing when I dump my paint, my tubes out. I'll sift through them as fast as I can, get the ones I don't want back into the container, get it out of there, and then get those rolling in whichever section I happen to be working on. So each one of those things I'll speed up as quickly as I can, and then we'll touch base at the end again uh, to see how it goes. I'm actually pretty excited about this palette. I've got several of the Koi palettes, and I've only got one that I filled in the bottom with and went with uh, the colors that I want. I wasn't really happy with the way it turned out, so often covered it went with a lot of my other, not failures, but things that aren't, they're not as good as I would like them to be. So, all right, enough again yammering. I'm gonna stop this and I'll get started working. right, I'm back. That just got, crazy as always. It's so hard to choose with all the colors, and I always feel like I'm, abandoning a child when I decide not to put one in there. I really struggled with the buff titanium from Daniel Smith. That is a tough color to replicate. I I don't use it a lot though, so yeah, I think I can fake it mostly uh, when I need to. So yeah, there were several colors that I ended up putting away, and even so, I've got a lot more colors on here than what I intended to have, but they're all great colors, and you don't have to use every color in your palette for every painting, so I'll just carry on. Um, had a little screw up there right near the beginning. I had planned to put my darks in the middle, which are now here, and my earths on the side. Um, Not a big deal. I kind of wanted to make the darks available to both the greens and the sky colors, but it's okay. I mean, I just ended up adding more darks over here uh, to the greens, so that should be good to go. Um, yeah, again, like I said, I used a lot of raw sienna, so that ended up being in a lot of different places, um, which I'm real happy about that. Uh, I have the ability to make, you know, quinacridone gold or a very close approximation of it. I've only got like a tube and a half of the real stuff left from Daniel Smith, and I'm saving that for, I don't know why I'm saving it. No real reason to save it. It's not that hard to make. Um, you got my purples here, purples and violets, I guess. Uh, in the cool. So yeah, the cool section turned out okay. The warm section I'm pretty happy with. Uh, yeah, I think this is going to be a great palette. Um, the only, I mean, I do have a couple concerns. I'm afraid the plastic. If I don't want to drop this thing because I think it would shatter or crack or something. Um, the thumb ring on the bottom, like I had said earlier, it feels like a break point to me if I'm going to use this in plein air a lot. Um, So yeah, my opaques turned out pretty good over here. I'm happy with those. Uh, they're separated from my transparents. There's a lot of I found my wow, that's gross. Every time I open one of those lids, chunks of dried paint would fall off in places I didn't want it to go. I found my koi. Where'd it go? My koi 20. Well, there. This is the 30. It's the same kit. Uh, Come on now. So I'm going to go through with the colors that came with this kit. See what Sakura does with the Koi company. This is just that flimsy plastic tray that I was telling you about, and when you pull it out, it's the whole section is just bare and empty, and it's a lot easier to put just one big piece of styrene in there. But I like these dividers. Even even on the side where the sponges go in the Koi one, I'm able to use that as a well now. Like when you pull this away, you don't have the dividers. So being able to have warms here and cools here, my opaques there. That's just I called it my grays, but that's just ultramarine and burnt sienna. Um, Mix absolutely all the grays you could ever want. Um, so yeah, I like the dividers that are in there and in the bottom. Being able to use a paper towel down here. I got plenty of colors. Mixing space is a little limited, but I don't mind. I don't, like I say, I don't mix a lot on the palette, and I've got enough room to here to do some stuff. I wouldn't be pushing, big old quills and 2-inch brushes in this mess, but this is for going out and, painting in a sketchbook. So overall, I'm really happy with this palette for what I paid for it, and like I say, I'll get rid of the colors on eBay. The paints that came with it, I'll just sell them off. Um, that's the only Koi uh, palette that I still have with actual Koi colors in it. I got rid of the rest of them in my other. I think I got two more palettes. Um, but this one is. I think this is going to be a good deal. I'll be able to. I gotta quit playing with it. I'm gonna get this stuff all over me, or more so than I already have. So I will do some paintings with this, in a different video. This one's running plenty long, but that's kind of what I do when I make up a palette. It's a fun activity for me. I find it real. It's therapeutic. My OCD gets to play, and um, it's challenging when every other tube of paint has a different problem going on with it. The hard lid to open, or it's dried around the edges, or it's separated and you get all that goo that pours out of it. Um, but yeah, that's one of my favorite things to do is make a palette. Now I've got to use them. I probably got 35, 40 palettes in different brands, different configurations that I put together for doing reviews. And my goal was to do a review of my Mary Blue, 18 colors. So I would buy 18 colors and a palette, squish them in there, and then uh, let it cure so I can tell how it's going to behave in a travel palette, like M. Graham, great watercolors. Um, I would never put them in a travel palette. I've tried metal, I've tried plastic, I've talked to the company. They're just there's so much honey in there. Even the one that I have that are cured, for gosh, 10 years I've had these guys curing, and um, they're all dry mostly to the touch now. There's not a lot of sticky. Uh, but put that in the sun for a day, and you're gonna have a honeyed mess in the bottom of your backpack or something if you turn that palette sideways. So, uh, yeah, just learning about different brands and consistencies and things has been my goal. But now I need to start doing the reviews and get them done so I can offload a lot of these palettes on eBay and let somebody else enjoy them for a while. Um, so yeah, there you go. It's the Artify Watercolor Set of 24 from Amazon. Uh, I've completely blown away their original intention for it. Like I say, the water brushes that came with it, neat, cool. I don't care. I don't use those all that much. Um, but those seem to be pretty decent ones that come with it. The colors are, I'm gonna swatch the Koi ones out with these. I think they're the same. A lot. I've seen people saying, "Oh, the Artify ones are so much clearer and less opaque," but I think it's the same stuff. Um, so we'll see. I'll do a little comparison video about that later. But yeah, overall, I think it's a win. This palette is going to be, I'll put it in my camping kit or something, just to have it around in case I ever need to the watercolor and my main ones aren't available. Um, yeah, so a lot of versatility there. I'm sure a lot of you wouldn't do what I just did. Uh, You could glue half pans in there if you wanted to keep things a little more organized. Oh, I didn't think about that really. Yeah, that's okay. I like this kind of a thing. That way I can just smoosh my colors back and forth. And I got a bunch of tiny little individual butcher trays in here is kind of what this is doing. So yeah, all right. I'm gonna sign off. It's running plenty long. Thanks for watching, and yeah, hit the like and subscribe button and all that if you had a good time, or don't if you if you didn't. Um, yeah, have a great day.